I think one of the biggest mistakes people make, again, when they're publishing a book to promote themselves and their business, is they write a book that's, unfocused, bloated, meaning it's just longer than it needs to be, and it doesn't connect the reader with you, the author, if that reader wants more from you. Again, another one is, I think, making it longer than it needs to be. And then a third, again, would be not really thinking about why are you publishing this book? What do you want readers to accomplish? What do you want them to learn? And more importantly, what do you want them to do after they read the book?
Welcome to the Powerful Marketing Tips Podcast, created for overwhelmed business owners who want to build, run, and organize their marketing for good. And here's a brief overview of our guest. Becoming a published author sounds great, right? But what can it do for you and your business? We are very excited to have Mike Capuzzi here with us today. Mike is a publisher, author, and book publishing coach who has been helping clients create exceptional marketing results since the last century, 1998 to be exact. He's the author of 15 books, including 2 Amazon #1 bestsellers, The 100-Page Book and The Magic of Short Books. Mike is the founder of Bite-Sized Books, a new publishing concept formula for creating short, helpful books, also known as Shooks. Shooks are ideal for business owners, entrepreneurs, and corporate leaders who are looking to increase their level of authority while also providing helpful information in bite-sized books. So if you've ever wanted to write a nonfiction book but just weren't sure how to go about it, you're going to love what Mike has to say today.
Hello friends, thanks for tuning in today. I am Mari-Liis, guiding us through a very interesting topic today, writing a business book. It may sound scary, yes, but it is also something that will differentiate you very well, and it makes you stand out as an industry leader. And we have a very special guest here today, a book publishing coach who has helped clients create exceptional results here since 1998. Oh my God, welcome, Mike.
Mari-Liis, thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity.
Oh my God, you have been around since 1998. Please share a little bit of the background with us here because we want to know you better.
Well, thank you. Actually, I've been around even longer than 1998, but that's when I started my business. That's when I left corporate America. But long story short, and it's relevant because we'll be talking about this. When I graduated from college, university, I actually have an engineering degree. So I did engineering for a number of years. Then I joined an engineering software company. That's where I traveled the world. That's where I traveled all through Europe. I went through Europe, Italy, the UK, Germany, all over Europe. I actually met the woman who became my wife at that company. But right at the height of the .com era, which was the late 1990s, I decided to leave this, great job. And I always had an entrepreneurial streak and decided to go out on my own and start my own marketing company. So I've been in the marketing, helping, businesses, companies do better marketing since 1998. So, that's why I love your podcast. I think Powerful Marketing Tips is a great, idea for a podcast. I think there's always a need for smart ideas that work. So, since 1998, I've been helping. I used to work with a lot of bigger companies. Now I typically work with smaller, a lot of them are local businesses. A lot of them are online, coaches and stuff like that. And all we do today, Mari-Liis, is help, business owners, entrepreneurs, and corporate leaders publish short, helpful books. So that's 100% of our business these days. We've moved from doing all kinds of marketing just to book publishing and book marketing.
Wow, you have some great experiences for sure. And I appreciate your kind words about Powerful Marketing Tips podcast. Thank you. But I would love to start today with talking about books. I mean, we are overwhelmed with different content every day. We can really search for anything we want from the comfort of our homes. And there are plenty of free resources like blogs, articles, website, it's all out there. So you might think, what is the relevance of the book even, right? Why do we still buy and read books? If there's no reader, why will anyone write a book? So what are your thoughts here?
Well, I mean, I definitely don't believe there's no readers. I mean, books have been an important human, have created connections between humans for thousands of years, and all because we're in this high-speed, internet life and social media and all that. Doesn't mean people, don't want or read books. Now, they may be different formats. Obviously, digital, Kindle, online books are more prevalent these days. But yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest takeaways, Marlies, with a book is, and you mentioned this, is that people are used to buying books. There's bookstores, there's Amazon, obviously, there's a lot of online retailers, there's libraries still out there. So books still have a perceived and very real value, which is different than a lot of marketing. We're not used to paying for Facebook, as a consumer. We're not used to paying for YouTube videos necessarily. We're not used to paying for brochures and most marketing collateral. But books are different because most of us are at least comfortable with the idea that books are sold and purchased and bought. It changes the way people perceive them. So they're not perceived like traditional marketing media, which is really a key reason why to consider that. And then the other thing, and you mentioned this also, is being a book author, even today, even though it's easier to be a book author today, book authors are still seen as more credible, more experienced, higher levels of authority. So there's a lot of good reasons to consider publishing a book if you're if you're a business owner or a corporate leader.
I agree with you 100%. It's the books are really important, I would say, but this is something I see from the marketplace, that people still wonder if there are people who read the books. I'm like, oh my God. All the people who really are into, let's say, they have this growth mindset, they're always reading and they're always finding ways to learn more, right? So that's a great way to really gain some new insights. So we will talk about your, let's say, specialty very soon, about writing short books. But let's go over these pros and cons of writing a book, because there are pros, but there are also those cons, and I'd like to walk our listeners through all of the ideas we might have here together.
Yeah, that's a great question. So again, just for the sake of this conversation today, we're talking nonfiction, business-oriented books. So that's where we're going to keep our conversation. So the pros, I've mentioned already a few, authority, credibility, helping people in a format, that they can, they're on a plane, they can read it while they're on a plane, on vacation, wherever they may be, in bed at night, whatever. So there's a lot of smart reasons to be a book author. The other thing I didn't mention is, whereas a lot of marketing collateral, a lot of marketing material, people tend to either, recycle or throw away. Not too many books are thrown away. They may be given and shared, but they're not typically thrown away. So that's a little bit another differentiation point. So the cons, I would say, there's a lot of cons, and you have to be careful. I think one of the biggest mistakes people make, again, when they're publishing a book to promote themselves and their business, is they write a book that's, unfocused, bloated, meaning it's just longer than it needs to be, and it doesn't connect the reader with you, the author, if that reader wants more from you. So this is changing a little bit these days, but a lot of times business book authors just write their book, put it out there, and if someone is truly interested in what that book author has to say, there are no pathways for the readers to take to get more information from that author. We fix that with our books, but that's probably one of the biggest cons, is not having a pathway for interested readers who want more from you. Again, another one is, I think, making it longer than it needs to be. And then a third, again, would be not really thinking about, why are you publishing this book? What do you want readers to accomplish? What do you want them to learn? And more importantly, what do you want them to do after they read the book, which for our authors that we work with, it's always about connecting with that percentage of readers who want more. So, and then the last thing I'd say is, if it's taking you years to write your book, there's something going on there. It should not take you years. I mean, maybe if you're doing a ton of research, but I interview people on my podcast where it takes them 5, 6, 7 years to write a book. That's crazy. That's 5, 6, 7 years that people aren't being helped by your book because it's taking you so long. So there's better ways, quicker ways to write a book these days.
Wow, you kind of covered it all for me right now. But I still want to come back to some points. I put down some notes to myself. So you mentioned the part where you won't throw the book away. That's something I never thought of. That is great, I think. And another thing that comes to my mind is that why is it good to write a book is that you kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Documenting, for yourself, or you're structuring your ideas when you're actually doing the writing.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you. That's a very big advantage. So when you're putting that effort together to create the content for your book, it happens all the times with our clients, our author clients. They get clarity. They it gives them clarity how to better articulate, how to better describe what they do. So yeah, it does force you to get a definitely clearer on how you talk about what you do.
That is so strongly there, because I have wrote one book myself, and I am in the middle of writing the next one right now. So I know that it takes some time and effort to really, clarify your ideas so that the readers could really get the essence out of what are there.
Absolutely. I mean, without a doubt, it's one of those intrinsic sort of hidden benefits. So yes, I agree 100%. And
it never really disappears because, as you said, we don't throw books away. So it's from one side, it's very good because it's always there. But I would say from the other side is that maybe it worries you as an author because you might want to be too perfect here, because that it will be always there, and I can't do any mistakes. Have you seen that happen a lot?
Maybe once or twice. All the time. So yeah, perfection. That need for perfection prevents a lot of books from being published, and that's a big mistake. Marlies, there is no such thing as a perfect book. There is no perfect book out there. As soon as you publish a book, you're going to open it up and say, geez, I wish I had changed this or did this differently or said. So I always say to our clients, Marlies, I say, strive for personality, not perfection. And what I mean by that is don't obsess. No, you don't want to publish a book that's full of mistakes. We're not talking about that. But certain types of people can over-obsess over everything being perfect. And, all that's doing is delaying the book from being published. I would rather see authors write in such a way that they're not focused on perfection, but they're focused on bringing out their personality. They're focused on humanizing who they are so that those readers who understand and get what they're sharing will want to work with them, who will want more from them. I would say focus on personality, not perfection.
Okay, that's good. And strive for personality, not for perfection. I wrote it down for you. That's a good one. Thank you. So, talking about the cons, taking long time to write a book. Is it hand in hand with what you just said, with the desire to be perfect?
Yeah.
Or why does it take so long time for us?
Well, I mean, listen, life gets in the way, right? We all have the best of intentions. I'm going to write a book, and then before you know it, the year's up and you never wrote the book. I think there's a lot of confusion. They're looking at a computer screen, or they're looking at a blank piece of paper, or they're talking into their phone, however they want to do it, and they're not sure. A good business book starts with creating an outline, creating, even before that, it's like, who am I targeting for? Who do I want to read this book? And then what do I want them to do? And then crafting an outline of the book so that it helps that reader first and foremost. It serves the reader first and foremost. So they're not starting with a plan. You need to, it's just like, I love to cook. I come from an Italian family, recipe cards and all that kind of good stuff. So, before you cook, you got to think about what you want to make. Then you got to go buy the ingredients or grow the ingredients. Then you got to bring them all together before you can make this wonderful dish. Publishing a book is no different. So I'd say it's, not knowing, what to do, how to get started, and sort of just, going at it ad hoc.
I love this comparison with, making a food. So it's very good. So it really gives you a picture why you should craft this outline. And I love that. Thank you. So let's talk about short book versus long book. What is short book? How many pages is short? How many pages is not so short anymore? Could you please walk us through here?
So I mentioned earlier, I have an engineering degree and did engineering work for a number of years. So that means I have a very analytical, brain. I try to make complex things easier, which I'm sort of known for over the years. And what I realized, Marlies, especially as I've gotten older, is I find it harder and harder to start a book and then actually finish the book. Most business books are 200 to 300 pages. They're oftentimes, they repeat themselves and you sort of get annoyed, like, why am I reading this over and over again? So my engineer brain kicked in years ago and I said, well, do all books have to be this long? And if they don't, what is an ideal length? And what we came up with is a book that is about 100 pages. And these are real books, Marlies. They look like real books. They sit up on a bookshelf. They're not little pamphlets.
I can see.
They look like and feel like a real book when you have the printed version. But about a 1 to 2 hour read, depending on the average person. But that 1 or 2 hours allows the person, the reader, to start the book and more importantly, finish the book, thereby giving them a sense of accomplishment, but also allowing them to, again, take those next steps with you. So that 1 or 2 hour read comes out to about 100 pages. They're about 100 to 120 pages in our format, about 12 to 15,000 words. Whereas, I don't know what your first book was, but the average business book is about 75 to 100,000 words. Our books are, we call them shooks, by the way. A shook is a short, helpful book. That's our brand of books that we publish. Shook, yep.
Shook, very good.
Yeah. You're a marketer, so you know the importance of differentiating yourself. So, yep, we publish shooks. And they are about, again, 12 to 15,000 words. And I always say here in the States, a person can get on a plane in New York City, and by the time they land in Chicago, they have read your shook, which makes it that much more valuable.
That's a great idea. I really love this idea. And I don't remember the words anymore, but I know that my book was around 100 pages, maybe 97.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was, I understand this. And I can totally relate to not finishing books because I love books and I read and I listen to them, and there are usually 2 or 3 books, that I have started with, but I'm just waiting for a new next best moment to carry on with that. So if it's not as interesting as I maybe was expecting, then it might happen that I don't finish. Although I would say it only happens like 1 or 2 times per year because, I try to be consistent. So I still read it, even if I don't really like it maybe. So I get that point.
And I would say, Marlies, I'm not saying there is not a time and place for a traditional 300-page book. I'm not saying that. I have them, I read them. I'm saying for many people who want to write a book, I would rather see you publish 3 100-page books than 1 300-page book. That gives you a lot of opportunities to have a different message, 3 different messages, 3 different target readers. Rather than one big book on marketing, you could have a book on email marketing, a book on social media marketing, and a book on, direct mail marketing, for example. So there is value. And then the other thing I'll just share, and I'm happy to elaborate, again, using that sort of engineer brain, the type of marketing I've used over the years and studied over the years is direct response marketing, direct marketing, which is a different type of marketing. And our Shooks are direct response marketing books. They follow a very specific recipe, a very specific formula from the first page to the last page. And it's really a formula that we've perfected over the years that, again, serves and helps the reader first, but also gives the author opportunities to share his or her, information and allow that reader to connect with him or her.
Well, would you mind briefly, introduce us how you build that? Because I love your engineering thinking.
Well, one way is, and I won't go too deep in this, but just by the design of our Shooks, we did a lot of studying of readability, and physically being able to read it, font size, how it's laid out. There's, again, a lot of books are very poorly laid out. They make it very difficult for people to read, and if something's difficult physically to be able to read, you're not going to read it. So we thought long and hard. We did some studies, surveys with people, groups of people, and we have a very specific design formula. But I would say the more important part, well, not maybe the more important, but equally important is the structure of the content, how you structure the content, what goes first, what goes second, what goes third. And we have that laid out very specifically. And then the third part that's very important, I've alluded to this a couple times, but it's also making sure you give those readers who are interested in what you're sharing in your book ways to continue the relationship with you. So we have, in all our Shooks, we have at least two pathways, two ways. We call the first one the active pathway. That's the number one thing you want ideal readers to do. And then we have the passive pathway, which is, hey, the reader's not quite interested in maybe visiting you or scheduling a call with you or scheduling a meeting, but they want more from you. So we give them an opt-in offer, a way to give them more information in exchange for their name and email. So we can do follow-up marketing. So the active and passive pathway allows those readers who want more to connect with you.
I love that. But I was thinking about the writing itself, because for many business owners, maybe we don't have even this clarity. We don't know if we should use the active or passive pathways. Both have their, some good things about that, and some not so good, maybe. So how does this process really starts, or how should, if somebody's listening to us thinking right now, okay, I have thought about writing a book. So should I have a writing dream team, somebody who would help me with that? Or is it like I would just put some words out there and then start working with copy editing and copywriting people? Or what is the best practice here?
Well, I'm going to give your listeners a chance to read one of my Shooks, the Magic of Short books. And in that book, Marlies, I lay out the exact formula we use with our clients. So, readers can read that book and then go, if they think the kind of book that I recommend would work for them, they can go write their Shook. Again, I think that the most critical thing anybody who's listening or watching this can do is get clarity on why you, the potential author, wants to write this book. What do you want to accomplish? Because I will tell you, and maybe you agree with this with your own experience, but really writing the book is the easy part. The harder part is once that book is done and published, using it and getting it out there and promoting it and marketing with it so that it's doing what it should be doing for you. So that's the harder part, is that consistent, persistent use of the book. But I would say, you've got to get clarity on why you're writing it, how you're going to promote it, how you're going to leverage it in your business, and then what are you going to write that's going to help the reader with either learning something or achieving something. So there's a lot of planning that needs to go in before you even write that first word.
Okay, and if now I'm thinking that, okay, I want to write the book, but I just don't feel like writing myself. Is it like, does anybody do that they really hire somebody who writes the book? Maybe it sounds like a silly question, but it just came to my mind.
No, it's not a silly question. And at least here in the States, we call it ghostwriting. So the concept of ghostwriting has been around for years and years and years, which essentially means, somebody is writing in your voice. A lot of the most well-known business books over the years have been ghostwritten. We offer ghostwriting for our clients. However, I always encourage people to try to write their own content. I still believe nobody's going to be as passionate, nobody's going to be as knowledgeable, nobody's going to be able to share your voice, the way you write, the way you communicate better than you yourself. And no copywriter, no ghostwriter is going to be able to accomplish that 100%. So if you can do it, I always encourage people to write their own books. That's why a short, helpful book makes it a lot easier. It's only 8 to 12 weeks on average to do it if you follow our process. But ghostwriting is a viable alternative.
Well, thank you for reminding me this word, because I lost it, but I know this term. So that's very good. So when it comes to ghostwriting, is it like, I'm just again thinking out loud that this ghostwriter should be someone as a coach or somebody with whom you can really discuss, what should go in and what shouldn't go in. It's like this is like a partnership, right? So, and they really have, I would say, essential role there, because when I have my second thoughts, maybe he or she should be telling me that, no, this should be like that.
Yeah.
Because.
Yep. For sure. Yes.
So do you act like coaches as well?
Well, so for our clients that work with us, yes, they work. All our clients work directly with me. Now, I'm not writing it for them. I'm not the ghostwriter, but I am the 20 some odd years of experience of saying, hey, this is the right title. This is the right, this, yes, include this, but not that. So I'm approaching it more from a marketing and sales standpoint. But when we work with our clients, Marlies, it's from initial idea to finished book.
Okay, that's great to know, because as I said, well, I did wrote a book. It was 2017, I think, when I came out with that. It was nationally, not internationally, and I must admit, I just did this, because I felt that's that needs to be done. And I never had a coach or somebody like yourself, who has been around and actually knows how to do that. So that is why I think that for many business owners who have never wrote the book, might have same questions around, like, okay, I have an idea, but what's the next step from here? Because I'm not such a good writer myself, so that's great.
And listen, in this day and age with Amazon and all the ways to publish a book these days, it's a lot easier. So technology is not an issue anymore. Again, I think the biggest reason you want to work with a good, experienced book coach, it's not only just a writing, because a lot of book coaches just focus on, writing that perfect book, or, just focus so much on that. And again, it's got to be a good quality book. The more important part is how this fits into an overall strategy, a marketing strategy that gets it out there in front of the right readers, but also is working for you, the author.
I love how you put that, because I always start, with clarity, because too often I see that businesses and marketers, they kind of jump from one activity to another, and they don't have this clarity around where's my target audience, what are the messages I really want to put out there. They're just trying a bunch of things, and then they are frustrated because nothing seems to work out.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, you're 100% right. And I will tell you, Marlies, when you decide to publish a book for your business and to promote yourself and your business, it is a long-term game. It's not like, I'm putting a social media post out and I'm expecting a bunch of likes in a couple hours. a properly written book, a properly, published book, it can work for the author for years and years and years. I published this book that I'm going to give your listeners, the first version back in 2018. That's not that long ago, but I just checked today, by the way, just today before our interview, it's back to being a #1 bestseller on Amazon. It's been, off and on, and so 5 years after I wrote the book, or 4 years, I guess, it's still selling great. It's still helping a lot of people. That's what happens when you do a good quality book and then promote it consistently.
Well, congratulations. That's a huge thing, what you just said. Well, if you were to really wrap it up now for our listeners here, what are the steps if you're thinking about, okay, I want to write a book. Where should I start? Should I just take my laptop with me and go outside with no distractions? What is the first step?
Well, it's going to sound self-serving, but I would read The Magic of Short Books. And and again, there's two other shooks that I'm including. Another one that I wrote, actually, you'll probably want to read this, is The Magic of Free Books.
I should read that.
We didn't even touch on this, Marlies, but the kind of books that we publish for our clients, it's not about selling the books. I mean, yes, you can sell them on Amazon, but it's not about making money by selling books. It's about making money in your business by the relationships and what happens after, so on the back end of the book. So the Magic of Free Books describes 51 ways to use a free book marketing strategy to get out there in front of your target audience and get them to know about your book. So I would say, self-servingly, read my shooks. I'm giving them to your listeners. But yeah, I mean, I take notes. I have little notebooks. When I have ideas, I'm working on some new ideas right now. Whenever the idea pops in, and then when you really get serious, just set a goal, set a deadline. Don't leave it some nebulous idea. Don't say, well, I hope to have this book done in the next 2 years. No, I'm going to have this book done by December 31st, 2022. And, I'm going to do what it takes to, finish it by then. Set a concrete deadline.
And you should share it with somebody, either
Yeah,
with a book coach like yourself, so people can help you stay accountable.
Absolutely, yes.
And you know why I think books are great? Because of the content itself, meaning that you can really repurpose this content, through your video marketing, through your website, blogs, everything, what is really out there, and that's really something that will make your life easier, right?
Yes.
When it comes to marketing, in the long term, of course. So
absolutely.
I really love that. So please share, where can we now find those books that you just showed us?
Yeah, so it's the three. It's the Magic of Free Books, the Magic of Short Books, and the Magic of Shooks. So three. Now they're digital versions, so you'll read them on your phone, or your laptop, your iPad, your computer. But if you go to MikeCapuzzi.com/magic, that's a hidden page, MikeCapuzzi.com/magic. Just put your name and email and let me know you heard on Marlise's podcast, and I'll send you the links to read them.
Yeah, that's perfect. We will put that link next to this video for sure as well. But thank you for sharing that. And I also wanted to ask about audiobooks versus physical books. What are your thoughts here? Do you see, how people are using really books?
So we publish print, digital ebooks and audiobooks. For some of I think 2 of my books, and I'm up to 16 now, I have audiobooks. Interestingly enough, Marlise, for my books, my own books, and maybe it's just, we're not promoting the audio more than we should, but the order of for my books is Kindle. On Amazon is Kindle, print, and then audio. But yes, audiobooks are, people, a certain segment of the population wants to hear, read versus, listen versus read. Audiobooks make sense. You can do it yourself. You can hire a professional. If you do it yourself, it's difficult. It's hard. Now there you do have to worry more about perfection and really reading it and getting it done right and high quality. That's why even for my own books, I did my first audiobook years ago and I recorded it. It was painful. So now I just hire professionals and they just read my books for me.
Yeah, that sounds easier. But yeah, the reason I'm asking is that I really just discovered audiobooks like last year for myself. And I would say now, out of 10 books, maybe 2 are the real books, the physical
Wow.
ones. I
Wow.
really love to listen to the books, and mostly because I can do this while I'm walking outside, while I'm cleaning my house, or I'm doing something at the same time.
Yep.
Of course, I'm not multitasking. I'm not working at the same time, but you understand the point, right? So I
Yep.
can walk around and I can listen to the book. So it's a great way to really go through books, because sometimes you just feel you don't have this time to sit down and to read. So it has helped me a lot. So thanks to audio versions, I can work through many books
Yes.
at once. So that's great. Well, I appreciate you being here. I know our audience will also appreciate you sharing the insights, and we will go through your shooks. Thank you for sharing. But last and of course not the least, please share with us an inspiring song and a quote you have shared with us beforehand.
Well, I love that question. I love the fact that it brings a little bit of just humanizing your guest even more. And when I thought about this, I'm a big David Bowie fan. I had the good opportunity to see him I'm not a huge concert goer, but I did see David Bowie several times when he was here in the States. Back in the 80s. So I'm still a big David Bowie fan, and his song "Heroes" has just been I still, even today, all these years later, whatever it is, 30, 40 years later, every time I hear it, it makes me feel good. It brings me back to a certain point in my life when I was younger and just, a little bit more carefree. And I think just the message of the song really resonates with me about, how you can just, really stand out and truly be a hero to someone.
Well, thank you. It is very inspiring. It goes to our Spotify list for sure. And what about the quote?
Well, I have a favorite quote that I use, especially on podcasts like this. And it's actually from another rock musician, Jerry Garcia, of all people. Of the Grateful Dead. I'm not a Grateful Dead fan necessarily, but Jerry said, "It's not enough to be the best at what you do. You must be perceived as the only one who does what you do." And Marlies, I think as a marketer, as a marketing expert, you can understand the importance of that simple quote. In this day and age where there's so much competition, there's so many books, there's so much of everything out there, you need to position yourself, your brand, your business, your books as really being unique and different to the best of your ability. And I think Jerry's quote it reminds me, I share it with my clients, it's important to really work it. That's why we came up with the concept of a shook, a short, helpful book, to be perceived as the only one who publishes shooks in the entire world.
Wow, I just love it. So thank you so much for sharing, and please let me know where people can connect with you if they want to reach out with you directly.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn. That's about it for social media. My main site is MikeCapuzzi.com. Our book publishing site is Bite-Sized with a D, bitesizedbooks.com. And then I have a podcast, Marlies, maybe someday we'll have you on it. I only interview nonfiction book authors. It's The Author Factor, so authorfactor.com.
Would love that. Wow, thank you, Mike. We really appreciate your time here, and all the best to you.
Marlies, thank you very much.
Well, that's all we've got for this episode of the Powerful Marketing Tips podcast. But make sure to link up with us at our free monthly international mastermind event. Just go to powerful-marketers.com/mastermind. We would really appreciate it if you would rate this podcast and leave a comment wherever you tune in to listen. That will help us and other potential new listeners. Until next time.